Well, it's welcome to the Totally Awesome Fishing Show, but it's no fishing. There's going to be some tackle talk in here. We're going to be looking at some different bits of tackle. If you want to turn off now, that's absolutely fine. If you want to learn something with a few tackles and rigs, hang on. I'm doing it from the world famous Pallet cabin up here in the forest that we built with Mike. It's on his TAOUTDOORS full build. Very, very popular. I love coming up here. Going to get the stove on, have a cup of tea, and I think I might try a couple of pancakes. But let's get to the cabin first. We'll have a little chat along the way because I'm going to be talking about different bits of tackle, only small things. Now, a lot of the time we do talks about, and it's true, you know, you need to know about the fishing rather than the tackle. But of course, there are items of tackle that you guys out there, beginners, and that's what we're for, beginners, experts, move along. You'll learn nothing off me. Beginners might be able to give you a tip or two, make life a little bit easier. You might catch just like 1 or 2 extra fish. Well, listen, the way our fishing is, we need 1 or 2 extra fish, don't we? Let's get to the cabin. Hang on. Which way was it? What was that? Did I hear a twig snap? Oh no, it's me. Right, organised at long last. The kettle is on the stove is lit. Now, one for the beach, guys. What are a couple of good rigs I've had in the last 2 years? Okay, I'm only going to show you two. There's loads and loads of rigs. If you look on our site, you'll see there's several rigs done by Tony and that, talking about, you know, different rigs they have. For beach fishing, I'm talking beach fishing here. Now, you can buy these little rig holders, I suppose you could call them. And I'm going to pull it. Now, this one is, and they're colour coded, so you could have whatever colours they are. Like, for instance, there's red, that could be one type of rig. You could buy a tube of those, and you can buy yellow ones as well. This rig, without a shadow of a doubt, I think I mentioned it before, I haven't got a lead to show you, but was really about my most successful rig. And the truth is, I don't know why, because it has long traces on it. Let me just see if I did throw a lead in there. Hang on a second. Oh, sorry about that, people. I got a bit sidetracked with the kettle going off, so I've got my cup of tea, and I'm going to have, I'm just waiting for these old G stoves to cool down. I'm going to have a couple of these pancakes and syrup. But first, I think we'll have a look at that other rig. We mentioned this one before. Whoever invented it deserves a medal. It's, I would say, a big fish rig for fishing big baits over rough ground or broken ground when you want to get your gear back, or you want to get a big fish up and out of a snaggy area. Lead clip at the bottom. There's the lead. About, what can we say, 3 feet. Now, you can make these up yourself. You can get a shop bought ones, you make them up yourself. I'm going to say 3 feet. I've got 50-pound mono on there, and I've got what's called a pulley bead there. Can you see that bead? Hopefully you can see that. Pulley bead. You can use a straight swivel, but you're going to need a bead either side to slide up and down so it doesn't jam into anything else. But these are physical pulley beads designed for that job, okay? Your reel line comes up through the fishing rod, comes all the way down, and you tie your fishing line onto that ring. This slides down, you've baited up. Okay, put the bait on here. Now this is a pulley pennel. A pennel is 2 hooks there. So again, for a bigger bait, let's for argument's sake say the spoon, 1 hook would go there, 1 hook would go here, one locks the other in place, and you can put a few twists around it, as you can see there, hopefully, to lock that hook there in place so it's solid. Now when you hook the fish, well, basically what you do is you cast out and you put your hook, more difficult to do inside than it is actually out with the fishing rod. You put your hook in that little clip there. Can I? Hopefully you can see it. I'll try and keep a bit of tension on it. See, so it's like this, like this, like this. This is going back to my rod top. Okay, let's get my pulley bead back there. The pulley bead there itself, the swivel, that part there, hopefully you see it, because I don't know what this camera focus is like. It's not like my big camera. Your reel line's on here, okay. Cast out, as the lead hits the water, boom, it comes off the clip. Okay, so imagine that. The fish takes line, but when you go to wind in, instead of the lead bumping along the bottom, this happens. Fish is still here. I'm going to put it in the table so it's tight. Hang on a second, people. Bear with me. It's well worth waiting for if you're after big fish. There's the fish, he's down there. The line is tight. I'm fighting him, fighting him, fighting him. But the pulley bead slides all the way up here, like this. So there, and it locks, as you can see, a pulley. It's like a pulley, up and down, if I show you that. It locks there when you're pulling the fish in. So you've got the fish probably 5-6 feet behind your lead. Your lead is way up off the seabed and hopefully out of the way of snags, rocks, weed, and you get the fish. That's a pulley pennel rig. And that's my 2 best rigs. This would be the big fish rig. The other one would be small fish. More tea. think I'm going to chance my pancakes on there, boys. Right, we all have a nice big tackle box, and we have, in this particular one, as you can see, it says Redgill Lures. Redgills are a sand eel, a rubber artificial sand eel, and you can fill up your box like this, and they're all, right, all jumbled together. They mix around, don't they? Well, the problem with these rubber eels, they have a nice, what they call a baffle tail to them, that they can get curled and twisted like this. And unless they're straight, they're not going to swim quite the same. If you have them set in your tackle box with a twist in them, they might do this, and they might be refused by a fish. So the way to straighten it out, if you want to do it, especially with the larger ones, is use one of these. Now you could probably make one of these. This is one of Redgill's own ones, but it's a stretcher. It's a Redgill Stretcher, and it holds them straight. And look, just slots across the back there. I'll come back a bit so you can see it. Slots across the back there, and big U, I bent it there, U notches across there. And what happens is, you put the tail of the Redgill through that slot till it pulls tight there, if you can see that. Just put a very little tension here, and you can pinch the body of it. If you can see, that's the way it will be swimming. But you can pinch the body of it in that little U. Let me turn it around that way. Hopefully you guys are getting all this. Now these stretchers are dead handy. Now you obviously, if you have a lot of Redgills, I'll do that one. You're going to need a lot of stretchers. You can either buy them, I guess you could buy them in bulk. If not, have a go at making a similar thing. What could you make it out of? I don't know. You guys out there, come up with some ideas on what to make an eel stretcher, I'm going to call it. But I'll tell you what it does, it stops them all tangling up. You can make colour-coded ones. You could then put these into a box, couldn't you? Easily. Now look, that obviously for Uncle Graeme is far too neat and tidy, but doesn't it look nice? And more important than looking nice, they will fish well, and you will catch bass on these. These are one of the best surface trolling bass lures, and they're very, very good for pollock as well. So there you go, a sand eel stretcher. Think about it. Maybe you want to make them, adapt them, change them, whatever. You can put them different makes, different models, upside down. Some have fixed ones, you know, fixed hooks. Some have removable hooks. Phone's going. It's Michael. He wonders if I'm in the cabin. There you go, guys. Something else, another little tip for the sea anglers. Still on the subject of sea fishing, let me grab this stuff. Didn't bring my glasses. I have used this. It's quite expensive. I think it was over, did they tell me it's going to retail about £5 a bar or something like that. Fishy Fingers, and it says the Odour Eroder. New Zealand, NZ, so it's a New Zealand one. One of the fishing people said, try these, Graeme, see if it's any good. Now, I've tried it, it's really good. Actually, it's really good. My wife loved the smell of it. Yes, it is a bar of soap. All fishermen know, if you have something like squid, especially a bit iffy squid, a day or two old, and sprats, you can wash your hands as many times as you want, and it's a nightmare trying to get that smell off. This stuff is perfumed. No, not that type of perfume. Aromatic, I think, with something like, I haven't got my glasses, I think it's like lemongrass or something like that. I can't read it. But warm water, a scrubbing brush. Now as you go down through that bar of soap, it's like it's a bar of soap with bits of sand in it or something like that. It's a sort of scouring action as well once you get rid of the surface layer. I really liked it, you know. I mean, I don't know where you get it in the UK, but there it is for what it's worth. I have tried it. I'm not just saying this is a bar of soap. It's an expensive bar of soap, but it does make your hands smell nice, and it's for fishermen. It's called Fishy Fingers from New Zealand there, and I've used it. I've had a couple of bars. This is my third one. I sort of like the smell so much I don't really want to use it, but it is good, and I like that scouring stuff they got in there. Oh boy, I can smell those pancakes. This might be a quicker talk through, guys. Now I'll talk to you just briefly. I've done this before, but I'm going to mention it again. There's that commercially made line or rig holder. I've got pretty much the same thing with a spool of, yes, you can see the split in it. It's just insulation material for pipe, like pipe lagging. I don't know what size that is, 22mm. Our UK pipe, copper pipe, normally comes in, I think it's like 15 and 22. so you can use what you want, but you can open the split up, put the swivel in there, and then wind the trace round. Now, mentioning this particularly, you think, what are those sort of bobbly bits there? They're like floating beads, if you like. If you can imagine a plastic bead that floats. And quite a few times beginners have told me, I've been casting out, especially in the summer in the UK, my bait's on the bottom, I'm winding and it's been stripped and I didn't see a bite. The answer to that is, it's going to probably usually be crabs. So I've got these two off to show you. In fact, I can honestly smell the pancakes. Sorry guys, I'm going to have to go for them. I think this requires a little bit of knife activity. Warm pancakes, OMG. And of course, no pancake would be complete without. That's right, boys. They soak it up as well. My kids soak this bloody stuff up. Oh my God, anything that's sweet, they've got it. So there we go, pancakes. Even have my little extendable fork, knife and fork. And people say, you're always eating, Graeme, you're always eating. Well, look, I always say, yeah, I'm always eating. Have you ever tried running a car with no fuel in it? You ever tried running a car with maple syrup? Oh yeah. It's so nice to come out and actually late in the afternoon, which this is, have something sweet with a cup of tea. Lovely. These little beads, floater beads, I don't know what they call them. Normally your hook and worm will be lying on the seabed, the crabs are going to get them. But with these beads, you get them from tackle shops, they're very, very buoyant. They're free running, and you can put the worm on here and put a rubber stop at the back if you want, or you can just let them rise the bait up under their own buoyancy. But they will float the bait off. Look, there's my knot about there. I'm not going to untie the whole rig. About there, so I don't know, 6 inches up, something like that, off the bottom. So it's like a floating bead, and each one, you know, if I wanted to get that through the crack of the table, right through the pallet wood, I would probably spend days. Got it. So there's your beads. Let me show you, just like that. So they're pop-up beads, move it that way, and they pop your worm bait. If you have a heavy bait, a great big giant chunk of squid, it's going to sink to the bottom, isn't it? Of course, if you have a giant chunk of squid, it will last longer. You know, the crabs will take longer to chew it off. But with these pop-up beads, if you're using smaller worms for, I don't know, smaller bass, the usual sort of stuff, pouting, whiting, maybe flounders. Flounders will come off the bottom. Play certainly will come off the bottom of it to take a bait. It at least makes your bait last a bit longer. So there you go, pop-up beads. Right, something I feel for the fly fisherman. Okay, so fly fishing time. You want to go fly fishing? You haven't been for a month, a couple of months like that. What was the weather like? Being in England, it's probably a pretty horrible day. Might be a bit miserable, might be a damp, sort of, let's talk wet ground. Wet ground means muddy. You're standing on a muddy bank, you're casting out, you're feeding your line back in, and then you wind it on the here and you go home. Well, every time you cast in and out with a dirty line, A, it cuts your distance down, and B, it will wear on the inside of the rings, it will gradually wear things out, and it does your fly line no good at all. In fact, you're doing it no favours by not cleaning it. My suggestion would be, take the fly line out, peel that line all over, so say your carpet. I bet the microphone doesn't like this. Then with a damp cloth, probably with a little bit of warm, mild soapy water, just very, very lightly diluted soapy water, you run your fly line through it. Now, I'll probably put the microphone up here because I can see that I'm going to end up stripping the microphone as well. Let's just rest it there, I'm sure it'll be okay. Testing 1, 2, 3 and all that. I'm just using a piece of white toweling at the moment just to show you. Pinch it, a little bit of damp. I haven't got washing up liquid, not bringing it all out in the fires with me. But I'm going to show you this because a lot of people they'll wash the reel but they don't actually clean the fly line. Now this one's a floating line, the other one is an intermediate. That intermediate means it sort of sinks slowly, almost like a neutral density. You can either grease it and it will stay up, or you can degrease it with washing up liquid and it will stay down. A lot of planes about today. Good weather, clear, high pressure, not much wind. Okay, so I'm only doing this once and I haven't got any washing up liquid. Now, I don't know whether you'll see that on that camera. Can you see all the dirt in a line on there? That's all little microscopic where I pinched it. A couple of black lines there. That's exactly all the bits of grit that's going to be on there. So what I do is when it's dry, you can dry it with a towel as well, lay a sheet of newspaper down on the floor, get it all coiled up like this. I'm not going to do all of this. I get a little bit of polish, spray over the fly line. Now this is a floating fly line. Smith's stolen my towel again. Clean one. And then I can pull through the towel, basically a couple of 3 times each way. You know, pull it all through one way like this. I'm only doing a portion of it because it's a floating line. So obviously the polish helps that float as well. Then go back the other way. You can get somebody to hold the other end and keep it quite taut and just slide up and down like this. That's another way of doing it. Already, look, I can feel this is getting much slicker. Now, you won't believe what this casts like the next time you use your fly line if you do this. Check with your makes of fly line, what polish. Sometimes, you know, I'm just, look, this is my fly line. If I ruin it, I ruin it. But, you know, don't do it if you're worried about, will it react with a plasticizer on the fly line? I don't know what fly line you've got, do I? I'm just saying this is what I do to my floating line. So that's polished and polished and polished. Now that's slick, and that will pass through the rod rings much better. More important, it won't wear on the rod rings. It won't have the dirt particles wearing on the plasticized coating outside of your fly line, and you will have happy hunting with a fly rod. Now, if you were doing it with an intermediate, a slow sink or a fast sinking line, clean it the same, dry it, do not polish it. It doesn't need polishing because that sort of it defeats the object. You're putting a bit of wax on it, aren't you? And that sort of will slow the buoyancy down just fractionally. But do the same thing, wash it with clean towels, bit of washing up liquid. That's for the trout guys, a little tip. Right, next item is bait knives, beach or boat. There's a couple of knives. You want them sharp. You can get various, what would I call them, instruments that you can slide the knife along, or you can get a real old school antique stone. It's like a carbundum stone. Now these stones are very dense, and if you see there, hopefully it comes in to, it's a join. This is a very old one. It's called Norton Abrasives. It's an oil stone from the Norton Grinding Wheel Company in Welling Garden City, and I love the sound of this. Made in England. Not much we make over here now. Right, 2 different grades there. So this side is coarse, this side is very smooth or fine. Now, I've always been told with oil stones to put a bit of oil on them. Clean them off from the previous usage, like this. I'm going to pull that down a little bit for you. You can see as any particles that have been ground off from previously sharpening a knife won't do you any favours, you know, when you come to clean it again. A little bit of spray, a little bit of oil, that's all it takes. And then start with the cool side first. Now, some people just go this way and then work towards the point, okay? Now, how long you want to do it is entirely up to you. This is the coarse side. It does not take much to start cutting the metal off. Or other people use a stroking motion like this, just under a little pressure to put a bevel on it. You're trying to put a bevel on it. Pretty sharp now. I personally turn the blade away from me, so this is the blunt side, that's the sharp side, and just gently wipe it like this. I want to change over. Now you can see that black there has come off this blade, and some will be grains of the sand, of the stone. Little puff, I think most of that went over the camera lens. This is the fine side. It makes a different noise. Now I can hear that different noise. I doubt you'll hear it with the camera. This is the side there, put it up for you, that really does put that fine edge onto a knife. And it doesn't take much to do this. Right. And you can tell it's very smooth, the blade, because there's no ridges of bubbles or track marks of the oil. So it's going up and down the oil and doing it fairly evenly. Well, trust me, that's sharp. Again, you can just wipe the surplus off it. Some people like to leave a little bit of the oil on there. Put it away, job done. But don't forget though, clean that oil stone off, put it in its box. Some of them have wooden blocks. And there you go, as old as it is, it's still working, and that will see me out and probably about 2 generations of my family as well. That stone is so hard. Little pointer, finally. If you are filleting fish, I'm going to bring this up again, you might want to invest in one of these. Oh, it's just a glove. No, it is like a mesh anti-cutting safety glove for filleting. Okay, so one knife you're going to have in your hand, aren't you? If you've got the fish and you're cutting it, so this is the cutting knife, this is the cutting knife. You're probably unlikely to cut yourself on this one. You're definitely going to cut yourself on that if you're holding the fish. Oopsie, no finger. So you only need one glove. That's why generally these aren't sold in pairs. The left or right-handed, you can hold the fish like this, and you can fill it away, cutting, hacking, whatever you want to do. And if you do nick yourself, look, I'm not going to try cutting this. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take it off and cut it. There you go, look. There's not a mark on it. They come in different grades. Some are quite expensive, some are quite cheap. Even a cheap one might help your hand and save you a nasty cut when you're filleting. And they always say you're more likely to cut yourself with a blunt knife than a sharp knife. The reason being, if you've sharpened it and you know it's sharp, you've got a bit of respect for it. If it's blunt, you're just, oh, well, it just about cut and chew. You jerk, not good news, guys. So there you go. There's a few tips for you. Have I got any more tips for you? Oh yeah, I've got one on lures. For the farm fishing guys, it might be. Right, this lure is called a Rapala. It's just a Rapala, a very famous fishing lure maker from very, very long time ago. Now, we use these for trolling. Some people use them casting out from the shore. Really, I've used them a lot for trolling, tuna, yellowfin tuna, barracudas, kingfish, wahoo. This is, I think, about a CD14 size Rapala. Comes with a couple of trebles. I got it with a haywire twist, piece of number 19 wire on there. Might be a bit less than 19, that one, for safety. I don't want to get bitten off with barracuda or wahoo. Okay, when you do get a big powerful fish, something like a GT or a Karambisi, or indeed a barracuda, which have a lot of jaw power, they can often crush the whole lure and throw out this vein at the front. Okay, just to put the slightest kink in it. And you will know, because when you're trolling relatively fast, I'm going to use a ballpark figure of 5 knots, 5-6 knots. The lure should be just thrumming away like this, vibrating and tracking straight. If they pop on the surface and start spinning, 2 things: you're either pulling them too fast, or the previous fish you had has bent out the synchronization on that blade. Okay, so what you can do is get always a pair of pliers with you, and it's trial and error. You can just try and tweak it one way or the other and tweak it up or down. If you tweak it up, you put a very slight bend in it, only little bits you need. If you tweak it up, that will make the lure go down. if you tweak it down, you're putting more water pressure against the face of this lip. You think it would dig, no, it comes up. It goes the other way. So the other thing I've done before, when I used to do a lot of trolling, is I would slightly offset one to the left and slightly offset one to the right. And if I was running a spread of Rapalas for, say, shoals of school-sized tuna, I don't know, 10 to 30 pounds, I would have 2 straight running lures like this, straight off the flat lines in the stern, and then off the outriggers, I would have these altered slightly, so one lure pulled left and one lure pulled right. You couldn't, if you offset that vane, you can't pull really fast. You can't pull really fast. You've got to get the optimized speed of, I don't know, 4 or 5 knots, 4, 5, 6 knots, something like that. So they are designed as sort of fairly fast running, fast straight tracking lures, but you can tweak them. You can adjust them to make them run straight, or you can put 2 straight runners down the middle of the flat lines on the outriggers to make them pull further, so when you turn the boat and you go back through the school of fish, they don't crisscross, because these aren't fun. If you get 4 of those crisscrossed up, it's not fun, and it just tracks them out. So there's a little tip for the foreign fisherman, or indeed anybody who's trolling with Rapala lures. One point, this is a metal vane. Do not try tweaking a plastic vane lure, please. It will snap. These ones, you just do it very slowly, and it's sort of trial and error. I just noticed something else, guys. That's the tackle talk done, but I'd like to thank Howard, a guy called Howard. Well, he sent me a letter signed H, I think it was, and he sent me a pack. He's of senior years. He's even more senior than me, but he sent me a pack. He said, I'll never use them again, I'll send you these. So thank you very much, H for Howard, I think it was, for all these bits of rigs, hooks. Look, you know, some I'll use, some I won't use for ages, but there's stuff like feathers there. Look, we all use feathers and rigs like that. Thanks for that. Loads of rubber worms. I can't tell you how many rubber worms I've now got. Look at these. They look like the old fire tiger, the red tail ones, which are deadly for pollock. Some traces. Now, what I will say, the reason I mention this, not just to thank him, when you get these plastic sealed pouches like this, don't forget, it's best to wash everything in fresh water before, and dry them before you put them back in, because when you seal them up, yes, you think, oh, the moisture can't get in, but the moisture's already there. The salt will just eat away at everything in there if you don't get them rinsed, you know, properly. So a little tip there. Thank you very much for that one. Everything here will get used, and here it is. There's a note. When you had a note, you sent it to me somewhere. It says, you sent it to Mike. Hi Mike, here are the rigs and bits. We all know about bits. Some are Irish made. I bought to fish the Cork Boat Festival, so could come in handy for your jollies over there. Hope you and your dad are well and get some use from them. Keep on with your channel. The advice and knowledge what you both pass on is fantastic, even for those of it that have fished for many years. Blah blah blah. Regards, H. H, they will get used. I have to say, you know, it's like over the years they probably get lost as well. But thanks for sending them. Okay, that's about it, guys. Helicopter's coming. Do the closeout. It will, well, let this guy go over. I think he's coming through the roof. Maybe the SAS are going to abseil in here or something like that, because look, you know, it's England and I've got this and this. Makes you, and these. Probably rob a bank with a pair of long nose pliers. I'm going to put this one away in case it gets me into trouble. I love it. I love this knife. So thanks for watching the Totally Awesome Fishing Show. Hopefully there's a few tips there for you. Look, you only need one of those tips to work. It's worthwhile, isn't it? It costs nothing, free to watch. Hit that subscribe button, hit the tinkly bell. If you want to hit the like button, great. If you don't, I'm not bothered. And don't forget, of course, to hit Mike's TA Outdoors, because that's where, if you want to see the pallet cabin, the world famous pallet cabin build, it's on there in various stages. There's also one that's a sort of start to finish of the entire pallet cabin, including the bed, the chair, the table, the shelving unit with no books on, mostly logs and stuff like that. We look forward to seeing you next time, and if I can, I'm going to get back here and I'll give you guys at least another one of these tackle talks. We'll see you next time.